love to get a sense from you what assistants can expect from managing travel over the next year. And I know that's a difficult prospect with all of the changes that have happened over the last few years. But I wondered if you could start with giving us a general update on where we currently are with travel management. Many assistants would have stopped organising travel, really just completely stopped over the last few years, and slowly be getting back into it again. So I wonder if you can give us a general overview of where we are now.
Yeah, certainly. I think we're in a situation at the moment where probably a high proportion of our customers, they're typically spending maybe 60 to 80% of their pre-COVID levels. And I think it very much depends on the industry that you're in as well, and the type of travel. So, for example, we've seen companies like manufacturing and construction and health sort of services, and some of those have not, they've not stopped traveling throughout the pandemic, really, because of the type of work that they do. But likewise, we've seen a lot of customers who have only just started booking really again in the last maybe 6 months or so. So it's all kind of, you can see that for some people it's kind of coming back. And I think, even for myself, when I've been traveling over the last few months, the restrictions, they're very complex. They keep changing. It's really hard to kind of keep on top of everything. And, it's different restrictions depending on where you're traveling from and to, and also what the individual's vaccine status is as well. And that can be really difficult. So if you're an assistant and you're booking on behalf of somebody, you suddenly need all of this additional information as well to be able to actually make sure that the individual can travel safely and without any problems at all. And at TravelPerk, actually, quite early on in the pandemic, we realised that there was an opportunity to use our kind of in-house tech to build a way for customers to make safer travel decisions. And one of the things that we've been able to release is a product called TravelSafe. And that actually is used by the likes of Skyscanner and also Sky News, and really helps our customers, know what the restrictions are, and have a really true, reliable source of information. And that's been really key. So I think it's very complicated, but there's definitely things out there that can help people make it as smooth a return as possible.
I suppose as well, it's for assistants, it's useful having those conversations with the people that they do organise travel for, to get all of that information up front and kind of build a profile so that when they are organising travel, they've got all of that information in front of them. I think
Absolutely.
There's more information to have now around, as you said, vaccination status and that sort of thing. It's kind of making uncomfortable conversations to be had, but it's better to have that information up front so the assistant can do the best job for the person who's traveling.
Yeah, and even a checklist of kind of like what you need before you travel. I know personally I've had to do that for myself so that I don't forget which forms, and but actually a lot of that can be inbuilt into a platform as well, to make it much easier for the traveller, and send reminders before they depart. Have you remembered to fill in this form? Do you know that you need to do X? So yeah, there's lots of things to actually help people. And the use of technology is a good idea as well.
I was reading an article recently that spoke about there being a travel boom coming up. A lot of people really wanting to travel again. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Do you think that is a possibility? And if so, what impact do you think that will have on managing travel plans?
Okay. Yeah, I think there's definitely a kind of pent-up demand across the board. And I know, from everybody I speak to, whether it's business travel or holidays, actually, people are, it tends to be something that a lot of people are actually doing at the minute, kind of planning a trip and wondering when they can actually get back out there in the world. So, I mean, from a business travel perspective, we're definitely seeing an upward trend at TravelPerk, and it's very healthy as well. And it's across all of our regions. So it's not particularly just in the UK, it's across all of our sort of key regions. And I think with returning to travel, it's kind of a bit of a balancing act, really, between kind of actually getting people back out there and meeting people in real life again, and seeing the advantage and the benefit of doing that. And, no more sort of, you're on mute, I can't see you, those types of conversations. So actually being able to meet people in real life, but also we're definitely seeing a trend to wanting to go back to travel in a more sustainable way as well. So definitely, you know, because businesses have been traveling less, they've obviously saved cost, and they've also had far less of an impact on the environment. And I think it's that balanced with the real connections of, you know, being and meeting people together, being together in real life, having everybody in one place. And we've definitely seen a push for companies who, I guess, they've got more people working from home, and they now want to get people together in more sort of events, I guess, you know, bring people together from across the country, meet in one place, have a team meeting, then go back and work from home for a bit. So a different type of travel, but we're supporting our customers, through all of that, really.
I'd like to talk to you about sustainability, because it's a big conversation that I have quite regularly. We've decided to keep all of our events online this year, and although there's, yes, a lot of it is due to the restrictions that are still in place, but a lot of it is also to do with sustainability and actually the advantages that online events bring for, you know, the environmental impact that traveling to in-person events has. And I know that a lot of assistants will be asked to take responsibility for that. And I also think, as you said, I think a lot of executives and people who travel will go back to doing the buy leisure thing that we had as a trend years ago, to try and cut down the amount of flying. So I just wondered again, if you could talk to us about how TravelPerk is helping your clients manage the sustainability aspect of travel.
Yeah, definitely. It's a massive topic for us. We actually, since 2018, we've offset everything. So we're a kind of net zero company as well. So it's incredibly important to us. And we believe that, you know, we shouldn't be telling our customers to do it if we're not doing it ourselves as well. So it's a real focus for us. I think, firstly, you know, assistants should be looking for partners who can help them offset, so that they have an ability to, you know, to make sure that, you know, any sort of carbon emissions that they are sort of causing, I guess, through the travel that they're doing, they have a way to offset that in a very slick way. So that's definitely something that TravelPerk can help with. But I think also it's about helping people know how to make more sustainable choices. So actually, how do you make a more sustainable choice up front, rather than just offsetting and kind of, I guess, paying for the damage that you're causing almost? You know, how do you actually make different decisions? So some of the things that we've been helping with are helping companies with sustainable travel policies, you know, having pop-up messages with you know, when to use rail versus air, for example, and even now into, you know, much finer detail around, actually, if you were to travel on, if you're traveling on X route and you do a lot of travel on a particular route, then actually it would be better for you from a more sustainable perspective to travel on a certain airline over and above a different airline, or even down to the type of aircraft that you use. It can have a massive impact. So at TravelPerk, we actually acquired a business called Sustera, who are a sustainability specialist. They're now in-house as part of TravelPerk. And that means that we're able to offer a huge depth of information, not just the offsetting, but actually helping our customers make more sustainable choices and making that kind of evident within the platform as well. So, so there's lots going on. And I think it's going to be an area that's going to continue to be a top focus, really.
Really helpful, thank you. My last question for you is, again, just around relieving the fears of assistants, I suppose, because I think for years, all of us assistants, we've planned this out to absolute perfection, and then our executive leaves the office, and then they're sort of on their own. And for assistants, that there can be a lot of fear around that, making sure that the travel plans work as were intended. So I wondered if you can just give some, relieve some fears for assistants who their executives are going back out on the road, and they are now concerned about all of the usual stuff like travel delays, but obviously as well being stopped for all of the new reasons they might be stopped.
Yeah, I think more than ever, it's important to be really, really organised. I'm sure most of the people listening to this are exactly that. That's why you do the job that you do. I think having all of the data to hand about the traveller, so knowing their vaccine information, if they're willing to share that with you, so that you've got all of the accurate information, because it does make a difference. I think, like I said, about having a platform or tech that helps you with that information, so it's all in one place, so you've got trusted source of information to be able to give the right information to your exec. The last thing you want to do is kind of tell them one thing and then the reality is something completely different. So a trusted source of information, ideally built into the platform that you're using. And I think, definitely once they've traveled once, things get easier. So once they've traveled once, things get easier because they're more familiar and you're more familiar as well. I think the other thing that I would say, I guess about TravelPerk and what I think is great is that there's a huge amount of changes and cancellations that go on. And we've actually developed a product as part of listening to the market and seeing what's going out, which is called FlexiPerk. And that allows our customers to actually cancel their trips, knowing that they will get at least 80% refund back, and get that straight into their pocket. So I think having a flexible option as well really, really helps, because then it takes away that fear of, okay, what if something happens and they can't travel and we lose all this money and I'm booking, X trip or this, and it can be costly. So something to kind of take that fear away. But generally, I would say be organised, and quite honestly, once they've been out there and travelled once, that in itself takes away a huge amount of fear.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now probably isn't the time to go for those really cheap kind of budget options when there are so many potential cancellations and problems that may occur. I think, now's not the time to be kind of scrimping on travel. I think I'd agree with you there. At least get insurances in place and that sort of thing to try and claw back some of the costs.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about today. There'll be a lot of assistants who have pivoted during the pandemic to run events online, and now are being asked to run in-person events and hybrid events. So I wondered, first of all, if you could just give us a general update on where we currently are with events management. As I said, so many assistants are used to organising events and have added all of this technology in now, but are now being asked to go back to in-person. So I just wondered if you could give us a general overview and what sense you have of it.
So the first thing to really think about when you're organizing your event is nothing is steady anymore. There's a lot of unknowns. And there's a lot of back and forth, and everybody's experiencing it, not only on a professional side, but also on a personal side, which is also more important than ever right now. But the state of the events industry as it is, or the state of how you should design your experiences, truly becomes a fact-finding mission to know where your audience lives, meaning mentally, professionally, even physically. And these are important questions to ask. And I know that, admins don't have a ton of time on their hands because they're the best jugglers in the world, and I've been there as an admin. So, kudos to everybody that's listening to this session and to this conference, because you are actually bettering yourself. So when it comes to events, think of it in the sense of not only by venue. So your digital event is also on a venue, but think of it in the sense of what you are trying to create as an experience and what tools you're going to bring with you in order to fulfill where your audience needs and expectations will be. And the word expectations is kind of interesting because you are setting the expectations. So if you are designing a sales blitz that is on AirMeet, which is this platform that you're using right now for the conference, or on Zoom, the expectations are going to be led by you. You're in control. You don't have to be controlled by the elements around you. Because if you say the sales blitz is going to be on Zoom, This is how you're going to do it. This is how people are going to act. You've already designed the ultimate platform, and you can think of it as the same way as if you're doing face-to-face. So the reason why I want to harp on this is the year to take control over the events. It's not the opposite. The hamster wheel that has been going on in the last couple of years, it's because we've been governed and we actually let other factors take control of us. But if you come to a point and you say, these certain events are going to be on Zoom, on an Air Meet, or it's going to be digital versus face-to-face, and then face-to-face, you actually have different scenarios just in case the venue doesn't come through, the AV doesn't come through. So your ideal scenario is how you're going to troubleshoot them. So I don't know if I've answered it directly, but I just want to make sure that, everybody that's listening in is empowered enough to say, I'm in control of the events, no matter how small or big they are, or no matter if they're digital. I don't use the H word because I do not think people understand the impact of it, because it does not have any impact. So you have to think of where your audience is, what you're delivering, how you're doing it, and that you are 100% in control of it.
I really like what you said there, and I want to pick up on that word experience, because I think one thing that has happened over the last few years is people are much more conscious of what they do with their time, and what they might have put up with a few years ago at events, they probably aren't going to do now, and they want that experience. So I wonder again if you could just talk a little bit about that, because I think, as you said, for assistants, this isn't necessarily their full-time job. They have a lot of other things going on. And the thought of creating an experience for their attendees might be something that scares them a little bit. So I just wondered if you could talk to that point.
So first things first, don't ever be scared of what you're taking on. So always think of it in the sense of worst case scenario planning. I think that's where admins can feel more powered, meaning when you're putting an experience plan together and really laying it out, make sure that you have contingency plans just in case internet drops, coffee's bad, people have a bad day going from the airport on site, all of that. But the word experience is very important, because it's right now people are, and this goes back to expectations. The expectations are there's certain layers and certain return on time that you're going to be giving to them. And this is where you go back to know, what do they really want from an event? Do they want connections? Then give that to them and show them how to foster those connections. So there's a learning mechanism that you have, and a feedback loop that you need to put in there, and an engagement loop that you need to put in any experience design that you do. The other thing is your content. We are now binging so much content that will make us better. But so this is where you want to make an experience memorable. And the way to make it memorable is you set the expectations and then you lead them to it. You set the expectations in this conference that they're going to get kick-ass content, and you show them how to use that content. So there's also a cycle there, which is wonderful, which should be part of the design. You set the expectations that they're going to make at least 5 connections that will uplift them, or extend their tribe for professional reasons, etc. And you make sure that those happen within the event. You set their expectations that they are going to leave those 4 or 5 hours or 8 hours for the 3 days a better person. So that's where the experience design has to be set. This is not a cut and paste of, a program of breakout, maybe a coffee, break, all of that. This is where you need to actually tap into, who are you serving? Why are you doing this? What's their energy level? Will they stick with you for 45 minutes a session? Or do you need to bring it down to 20 and maybe do 4 of them, but like scattered somehow? Will they stick with you if they want to get better at something very specific? because the beauty of digital right now, you can be as ad hoc as possible. This is where, like, if you bring, I'll use myself as an example. People have brought me as a speaker and say, Dahlia, go shift from talking about event planning to career coaching. So this is the beauty of digital. You can shift as long as you set the expectations, the goals, and you tell your stakeholders how they're going to benefit from it.
So I think if we can get to a position now where it's, it's an experience and people take value away from the time that they've spent at your events, then that's going to be so much better for everybody, the event organizer and the person attending.
Absolutely. It's going to be better for the attendees. It's going to be better for the sponsors and, exhibitors when they're on site. Because if you really think of it, the global pause that we went through should have been done years ago. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants vanilla conferences or meetings anymore. That's not the flavor that we choose. Mm-hmm. We choose to create experiences that leave a holy shit moment, that leave you wanting to do better or to do more. Mm. What's happening at the moment is very interesting because admins, you're not alone in this. So like, even if you've inherited event planning or it's dropped on your lap and you're like, holy crap, what is this? Why am I doing this? And what do I do with it? You have to realize there are so many resources for you. It's insane. And it's great. And it's confusing. And it's shitty. And it's noisy. And it's like a lot of navigation. What you need to put in your head is don't work on this alone, but work on it with people that can complement your strengths. More importantly, teach you on the job. So like, when we're working with clients at the moment and they're bringing in, junior people to handle their digital events versus their face-to-face, because I dare you to do both. Do not do both. Do not get into the trap of trying to do everything by yourself. It will hurt you in the end. And so the thing about it is always bring in someone who can educate you along the way and relieve you along the way. So even for admins, that is gold right now. Go and look at other admins that can complement you, have done things in a different way. This is where you look at communities, for example. Go and look at maybe, digital event strategists that are looking for freelance work, program work, whatever it is. Hire people that can complement you because it will go a long way for you and your constituents.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to make those events into an experience, you're going to need as many hands on deck as absolutely possible. One of the things
Very true.
Yeah, one of the things that we have been reading about a lot quite recently, and this fits in the same around travel management as well, is that coming out of the pandemic, there's going to be this huge boom of events. And I wondered if that's the take that you've had, or if it is, or if it isn't. I wonder what impact that would actually have on people organizing events and experiences if suddenly everyone is wanting to attend events and come to events and organize events. I wonder if that's the case.
So there could be a boom of events on face-to-face. I would also challenge, those that are creating experiences to go back and see how their digital events did and who was attending. Because what's also going to happen is the competition is going to be severe when it comes to face-to-face because of budgets, because of time away from loved ones, and because of the security and safety of my dining room table. You have to create something that is going to be so compelling and that is going to be so me that you can get me to Vegas to go for the 4th time in the year. You're going to have to do it in a way where you have to tap into what exactly the content pieces, the format, the peer-to-peer interaction. What does that mean for Dahlia to bring me in? The content is going to be critical. And if you have the same old speakers that are not skilled to be producers, do not have the energy to keep your attention, I will sit in the in the hotel room on the couch eating white cheddar popcorn, and I will not come to the show. So you're going to have to think of it in the sense of, what are you bringing in? You can go as there's going to be a boom of events. The numbers might not be the same, but you're going to have to show me that you are taking care of me, because I went from a digital attendee to back on site. Give me the white space. Don't have me track 8 hours a day on a show floor. Don't have people shove collateral in my face and try to sell me something that makes no sense to me. Don't, so you're going to have to think of the don'ts. And so I think digital is always going to live. Digital is always going to be a must for a lot of experienced goers.
Yeah, it's exactly that. There might be a ton of events, but whether or not people are ready yet to attend them is something that we're going to find out, isn't it? For sure, because exactly as you said, the event might sound great, but is it better than my sofa? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the other thing to keep but the other thing to keep in mind is, if I haven't gone to that event in 2 years face to face, and I come back to the event and it's the same old program, and it's the same old 10 by 10, 20 by 30, 40 by 40, and people playing Candy Crush on their phones, really bad coffee, not great, places to meet up with people, then you lost me. I will not come back.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I mean, that means that you're tone deaf. And that means that you're not creative. That means you're not giving me, the spark that I need. We need sparks right now. We like, as battery, like my social battery, I need so many sparks, and it's not only from coffee. It has to come from people. It has to come from like sound bites. It has to come from like holy shit moments, all of that stuff. This is a big combination that you should be looking at. So my ask from anybody that's listening to this session is, go back to the drawing board. Put a big ass, if you've got kids, steal their crayons, get a big, construction piece of paper. I steal stuff from my kids all the time. Exactly. And start mapping out, what do your people need? What do your speakers need from each other? They haven't seen each other in a long time. And if they're still doing clip art on their PowerPoint presentations, put them in the same room as those that are using Prezi, StreamYard, all of that. Let them get together. Nobody thinks of the speakers as stakeholders, but they are, because they're brand, ambassadors of your show and of everything. Then look at your attendees. Where is their energy level? Are they introverts? Are they extroverts? If you're working with a legal team, or if you're working with an IT team, I can tell you right now, they don't like to be around a lot of people. They like to be the smartest one in the room. You've got to read, no pun intended, the room or the screen. So go back and chart that all out.